everyone. Hello. Welcome to the Healing Train. I am your coach or your conductor, B. Von Squires. And today we are sponsored by Spirit Source Connection. At Spirit Source Connection, we believe that we're multidimensional spiritual beings and that we enact our superpower through our intuition, our creativity, our imagination, and our visualization. But today we're here because we're on the healing train, where ordinary people come to tell their ordinary or extraordinary stories of trauma to triumph and struggle to success. Now, as we know, everyone's trauma healing journey is not going to be the same, but we do know there will be ups and downs and twists and turns along the way. And so today we're just asking you to come with an open mind so that you can get what you need to help you see what is possible. Today's passenger that we have today is a wonderful man by the name of Karl Fryburg. Karl with a K, that is. And I'm going to tell you just a little bit about him. He's a wonderful man. He calls himself a serial entrepreneur, probably because he got started working when he was 12 years old. Can you imagine that? 12 years old, and he had his own business, and he hasn't stopped since. I tell you what, Karl is so prolific. He has 3 books currently written, and he's working on some other wonderful things for us as well. Karl, along with 19 other authors, helped co-author a book with Les Brown called The Change. It is a wonderful book, and each author has their own opportunity to tell their story in the chapters. Karl's is on page 133, where he talks about setting goals. As a matter of fact, it's called Running for Your Lifestyle and the Goal Setting Simplified course and workbook. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit more when we get to our achieve section of the energy harvest, which brings me to the fact that I wrote a book, you guys know, the energy harvest. And we talk about this book here. It is a 4-phase trauma healing process where we identify the trauma. Then we talk about and it's not to identify so that we can blame anyone. It's to identify so that we can begin the process of healing. With any process, you have to be able to first identify what the problem is, what is the challenge, and then you move in to see what resources that you have available to help you meet this challenge. And that would be the set portion of the workbook. Then you move into the achieve portion where you set your goals and visualize where you want to go and start achieving wonderful things after you have healed from the trauma. And then we move into the sustain section where we talk about how do you sustain all of the positivity and open-mindedness that is required to continue growing and healing. Well, guys, guess what? It's time to go ahead and welcome our passenger for today. Can you please help me welcome Karl Fryburg? Karl, can you please come on and say hello to our community?
Karl with a K here in the house. Thank you, Bivon. I think I'm ready to go. You've said everything. I'm out of here.
Okay, well,
anyway, Karl's a little bit of a jokester, but yes, I'm really thrilled and honored to be here. We both had a wonderful opportunity to get to know each other a little bit yesterday on a Sunday of all things for a few minutes on the phone, and just I all day long, all I've been able to think about is an opportunity for me to come and share my journey and my story with y'all. And I'm just really thrilled to be here and really honored to be here. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here, Karl. We are so excited about having you here. Your energy, I could tell yesterday when we spoke on the phone that your energy was just through the roof. It was like, how did he find me? For me, it was like the universe just opened up and just dropped Karl right down into my reality. Just dropped him right down, a little nugget. Yes, just dropped this golden nugget down into my reality. And I just had to have him here for us to talk to today. And so, Karl, as I was saying, as anything, we first have to identify what it is we're working on. What is the challenge? And so I would like for you to come on and share with us the trauma related story that you want to present as we walk through the Energy Harvest Workbook today. Can you tell us all about the identifying the trauma? We know, I know it was from a car accident or a motorcycle accident, but I want you to come on and tell us all about how you lost your toe. And it
That
started.
was not a motorcycle accident. That was my friend we were chatting about earlier. Um, just to give you a quick idea, this is the book that I wrote, A Limb for a Limb, the 100-year-old oak tree that changed my life. Um, yes, I lost what they call my great right toe. I lost my big toe on my right foot. So that's not really a limb, but big toe for a limb just didn't roll off the tongue when I was writing the book. So let's go back about 4 years. I'll try to give you the quickie and not too gory details of what occurred. But a dear friend of mine and neighbor who just lives right around the corner, really wonderful family, um, struggling with a big oak tree in their backyard that had a large half dead branch that was in a place that was going to cause problems. Um, they weren't really the kind of folks that could handle something like that. My dear friend Steve, we'll call him because his name is Steve, um, came home from his work with a pole saw and he started trying to cut on the thing, and the pole saw blade was not so great. And he was home for lunch and he had to go back. He's like, "Oh, we'll deal with this later." So I always do wonderful things for them. And I thought it'd just be a great gesture, a great act of God and kindness for me to finish taking down this large limb on the tree for him while he was back at work. So I went home and got my pole saw. So I'm literally like 12 feet away from the tree and 6 feet behind the tree when this branch comes off. And it had kind of, it's hard, I'm trying to fit in the camera. It had kind of a crotch on it, a crook, and that hit the ground first, and the whole branch bounced backwards about 6 feet. And literally in the blink of an eye, it severed my big right toe right off my foot.
Oh my goodness. Woo!
Yeah. So everybody says, "Oh, you got hurt cutting a tree. Would you get yourself with the chainsaw?" No, the branch did it to me. Now, I will come back and say that if about a month or so later, I did go back and hug that tree because I am a tree hugger, and it was not its fault. And I can understand that it was mad at me for taking this big piece of its off of it, so it took a little piece of me. um, as a serial entrepreneur or an entrepreneur or somebody in the self-employed world, my income went to zero at the same blink of an eye as the great right toe disappearing from my life. Off I went to the hospital. You can read all the gory details right here. I'll make sure that Yvonne knows how to get everybody in touch with that. And you can just Google Karl Fryburg and it'll come up on Amazon. It's available in there for Kindle or for paperback. Um, so we're talking about 30 days of some of the most horrible and excruciating pain I've ever been in physically and mentally and financially. And at 30 days came operation number two because the amputation didn't go as well as they would have liked. Uh, let's go 90 more days. It becomes beginning of January of 2020. I think everybody kind of knows what January of 2020 brought to the country. I'm in the yachting industry, so it also means I have to jump off of the dock with blind faith and land on a boat with a very broken up, badly damaged foot. So I just got to the point where I could get back to work on yachts, and the P word, I don't even like talking about it. The thing came along that shut down the country, and it shut down the yachting industry as well. Well, guess what else being a serial entrepreneur comes with? No workers' compensation, no unemployment, no paycheck. again for another
Mm.
out of the next year, almost 8 months of the next year. So over the course of a year, my wife and I lived on interest-free balance transfer credit cards pretty much because it was the only thing we could do. And I spiraled us at 59, just turning 59 years old, into 100 grand in debt in a matter of 6, 8 months. Boom, there it was. Nothing we could do about it except I saved us from being homeless by being creative. And the running for your lifestyle we briefed on a few minutes ago. There will be a book called Running for Your Lifestyle Credit Creativity Simplified, because if there's anybody that can speak about how to play that game, it's me because I'm still doing it.
Okay.
So that was the trauma. Do I need to go more into that part of it, or we need to move to the next phase of the trauma?
Well, you know what? I just wanted to interject there that I noticed two different types of trauma there. You had the physical trauma, okay, of the toe being severed, and then you had the financial trauma of all the debt. And so we're looking here. Yes, trauma
This
comes
is the
in
worst
very
one.
Yes, trauma comes in so many different sizes and shapes and everything. And so I'm really happy to hear us talking about these other types of trauma because as of now, we hadn't had anyone on the healing train to speak about these types of trauma. So, yay, I'm so happy to hear about it. And so, if you'd like to expound more on it, you're more than welcome to. Or we can talk about the resources that helped you work through the trauma that you sustained. It's up to you.
The two of those kind of go very much together. So yeah, this next little segment we'll go into that. So obviously the pain is the pain. Um, you have to be able to understand complete mental, physical, emotional breakdowns over the course of especially the first 30 days and then having to go back. I had to have skin graft surgery, so they actually cut a chunk off of the side of me,
Oh, wow.
which hurt worse than the healing of that hurt worse than losing a big toe, believe it or not. Um, so there was complete mental, physical, emotional breakdowns, bawling like a baby. Oh my God, what have I done? My life is over. I've ruined everything for us, everything I've worked so hard for, everything we've done. Here I am. Thank God, universe, spirit, whatever you choose to call your higher power. My beautiful wife was a full-time at-home employee at the time, even prior to COVID. So she was there to help to be my caretaker and my my guardian angel and my angel in disguise to help me through all this. So I pretty much set myself up in my living room with my laptop. I slept on, they weren't an air mattress. It was actually cushions off of a yacht because I work in the yachting industry. I mentioned briefly. Made a makeshift bed in the living room because our bed in the bedroom is like one of these king size that's 2.5 feet off the ground. And even though I've never fallen out of it, I was scared to death I would fall out of it. So I had to sleep grounded. And I also, it was just such a struggle to even get to the bathroom and back. And imagining your beautiful wife of 30 some years having to take your pee bottle and clean it out for you all the time because it was much easier to do that than it was to get up.
Sure.
So I literally set myself up with this little office in the living room. And of course, she's full time at home working. I can't disturb her during the day. So there I sat with my headphones and my laptop. And I found a beautiful site, which we can mention in the comments, et cetera, as well. Or you can reach out to me. Company's called Avea. Uh, they have a video and a training and a teaching for just about anything you could imagine that has to do with mental, physical, emotional health. So
Okay.
my first order of business every morning was to watch a video to help. This is the most important part about healing. If the mind is a mess, the body takes twice as long. When the mind gets in the right place, yes, I'm on my way. I'm going on my healing journey. The body will say, okay, well, let's go. Let's take the run with you. The financial causes the mental, which slows down the physical.
Yes.
So, of course, the next step was here I am sitting here not making a dime, zero income. I've got to make sure this never happens again. And that's how I found book writing. And so the book writing became part of my healing journey, which I'm not sure if we're at another one of those kind of segues.
I am happy to hear you say, because I was going to ask you, Carl, while you are suffering through all that trauma and all that mental anguish of how oh my God, what have I done to myself? What have I done to us? You have now your family to think about, not just yourself. You're trying to heal your body. Your mind is going crazy because you know what your financial situation is like. And so now you're afraid that, oh my God, if I don't get my mind together, my body's not going to get together. How did you take your mind from that place to the next place? That's what I want to know. How did you get from that mental anguish to a place where you said, aha, book writing? What happened between there and there?
Mm-hmm. That's a fabulous question. I think part of the fact is I just turned 62 last week. I'm a very young and handsome 62. But probably since I was somewhere in my late 20s, early 30s, I've been involved with multi-level marketing, network marketing, entrepreneurship, self-help, self-learning, self-improvement.
Okay.
I kind of braggedly, new word, call myself a seminar and webinar junkie. I have a closet full of Tony Robbins and Jim Rohn and Brian Tracy and Tom Hopkins and all my heroes.
And that's Brown.
So so the avenue that I took with the help of Avaya, which I mentioned, Avaya helped with the mindset of the trauma and everything else. I went into these Esther Hicks and Jerry Hicks, Abraham, the teachings of Abraham. There are
Okay.
no two finer people that will lift you from the darkness than Esther
Abraham.
Hicks and her husband.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I made this part of my daily routine to help to clear the fog. I mean, for lack of a better term. And again, I had no idea where the whole thing would have taken me if I wasn't in a position of, I don't want to say that kind of power because I was powerless
Sure.
at the time, but at least it was the know-how and the wherewithal to understand that I was not going to be able to go this alone, and I needed to look for and reach out and find the help. And I really think this is something, if we can kind of bring it down into real for a little bit, and those who are listening can lean in if they like. And we all know that, especially right now, what's going on, we're in, this is going to be evergreen. So you might be watching this in 2027, but it's 2023 right now. And there's a lot of mental health challenges, not only around this country, but around this entire world.
Sure.
And so many people are going within instead of going out with it. And man, if there's anything that could be taken away from this whole thing or that can be shared, is find your path to the help, or find your path to ask for the help, and don't be afraid to ask for the help.
Mm. I love that. I love that. And what I'm really allowing myself to love is the fact that you're so transparent today. I know that there's somebody out here who is listening, who can relate to what your life path has been since you had your physical trauma, then your financial trauma, and then you reached out to others, Esther Hicks, Abraham Hicks, you talked about Tony Robbins and all of these other people, Mel Robbins, these are people that I know, of course, Wayne Dyer, these are people that I also reach out to. And yes, absolutely. And so if we don't have these people in our families that we can talk to, we can reach out And thank goodness that the internet is what it is today, making all this information available to us. There was a time when this information wasn't available. And now I feel like people are healing more now than ever because there is a need and people are feeling the need. And like you said, don't be afraid to ask. And people like Carl with a K, and me, Coach Bevon, coming on to let people see what is possible. Thank goodness for the healing train. I am just so excited about being on here. And guys, if you're just now joining us, we are here with Karl with a K Fryburg. And he is sharing his journey, his trauma healing journey, and not only that, how he became a book writer. And that's where we are right now. We're getting ready to go into the achieve section where he's going to be talking about goal setting. Oh my goodness, that's one of my favorite topics. And I had to put it in the book because guess what? You have to have goals. We all have a dream and a purpose that was created within us. And once we get the trauma off of us and all of its residue off of us, then comes forth all the dreams that we've always had, all of the wants and desires that we have suppressed come to the surface. And now we get to go and achieve some wonderful things. And so, Karl, if you would please take this opportunity to talk to us about goal setting and the simplified course and the workbook and all of that wonderful stuff that you have going on with the goal setting. If you could do that for us now. Thank you.
Absolutely, and certainly, as we talked a little bit about where I was and the place I was stuck in and how am I going to make extra money, that's actually where I came to a program, a course about write your own book and throw your book up on Amazon and make money from. You can make money from a little 5,000 word book. Just write it, put it up there, and everything will be great. Well, it doesn't always work out that way. That's, as you can see, this one is about that big. It's a little over 5,000 words. We're going to back up just a tad because I want to finish about writing this book. Something about, and this is really key to those who are in trauma, working through trauma healing in the space where they're wondering how to help fix themselves. Write it down. Whether you publish the book or not doesn't matter. The best thing I could have ever done for myself in the healing process was to write a limb for limb. Because what happens when you write a book? You write a few chapters, you go back, you read a few chapters. Oh, I misspelled that. Pronunciation, I missed that. Oh, you know what happened in the middle of this? This happened. Whoa, add. Read, write, read, write, read. By the time this book went to Amazon.com, I was healed.
Yes.
Because I had lived through the experience. I love to use the space-time continuum, and I hope everybody can see this. You keep turning the two edges together until all you have to do now is finally step over that little tiny gap that's right here instead of that giant valley that you thought was the problem.
Ooh,
And the writing does that. So now we're going to move into, and I'll reach up and grab Goal Settings Simplified and Workbook, book number 2, official book number 2. I did write another one in the midst we were talking about earlier, which is going to come out later because it wasn't written under the Running for Your Lifestyle. So goals, imagine, okay, to simplify it, everybody that's here listening saw that this podcast was going to be happening, or this interview was going to be happening at 2:00 on Saturday afternoon or whatever it is. And they said, you know what? I'm going to make sure I'm going to be there. Now, whether you got out your phone and you put in, remind myself to remember to be here, whatever, you actually set a goal to come spend your time with us. So that is goal setting simplified in about its simplest form. Setting your alarm clock before you go to bed for those poor bastards, those poor folks out there, Freudian slip, they have to set an alarm clock. I actually wake up mostly naturally in the morning because I can. Usually earlier than I'd like to, but that's all right. Just setting an alarm clock for every day, just choosing that you're going to go to dinner on Saturday night with friends. These are all goals. And what people don't seem to understand is they live their entire life surrounded by goals and goal setting. But once again, if this was taught starting in second grade, and by the time you were a senior in high school, you would have had 3 businesses running already, and you would be out there and be the entrepreneur of the world. But instead, and we're not going to go down that route either, but the system just wants you to be one more notch in the cog of the wheel.
Yes.
So they don't share this with you. They don't teach us. So everybody, it doesn't matter if you're 10 years old or if you're, because when you're 10 years old, it's like, oh, well, you want to buy those baseball cards, you're going to have to take out the trash for 3 days because you're not going to be able to go buy those baseball cards unless you do your chores and you get paid. That's a goal. So what I tried to do in Goal Setting Simplified was really reduce it to the ridiculous, to try to make it easy to understand, fun to learn. I think you can tell by listening to me. I'm entertaining. I entertain in my writing as well. For those of you that are going to get a limb for limb, you're going to crack up. I have friends that have called me and said things to me like, I can't believe you told all the women that you sit down to pee now. Well, I do, because it was much easier when I couldn't stand, and I found out it was much easier altogether. And my wife doesn't get mad because it's all over the place. So again, I digress. Um, but so the goals, imagine the first goal was I need to get up off this couch. I need to be able to get in the shower. I had to wrap my foot in my wife had to wrap my foot in plastic garbage bags for weeks because I couldn't even do that. Then it got to the point that I could wrap my foot in a plastic garbage bag. You want my help? No, I don't. I want to move through this. Then came the crutches, then came the walking, then came going from 4 legs to 3 legs.
Mm-hmm.
All these things were not specifically clearly written down and followed verbatim goals, but they were all goals. And I did have much of it in writing with timelines and time frames because I had to get back. I had to get back to the life that I had lost months
Yes.
before in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
So, and do you know how many days you don't want to get out of bed?
I can imagine.
It's it was a real challenge. Fast forward 4 years, we just went to Boulder, Colorado for the week of the 4th of July and actually had the pleasure of going to the final Grateful Dead shows, Dead and Company at Folsom Field in Boulder. And by the end of the second night, actually, we didn't even make it through the second show because I had walked too much and I was in a mile high. I'm down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 0 elevation. We're a mile high in Boulder, Colorado. My polio, as I call it, my foot was throbbing so bad that I almost ended up in the hospital the night of the second show. This is just a month ago. I wake up Monday morning for the third show, and I'm bawling. I'm like, no, we might as well just go home. Life is over. I can't, blah, blah, wah, wah, poor me. My daughter who lives up there, she's like, no, you don't understand. We got you a wheelchair already. We're going to go get you crutches. You walked on crutches for months. You're going to the damn show tonight, Dad. And sure enough, we ended up on the disability platform, escorted all the way through the guts of the stadium, came out the tunnel where the football players run out onto the field, escorted up onto the ADA platform, which was literally 100 feet from the front of the stage.
Wow.
With private handicapped porta potties, a big bin full of ice water, and the beer guy was right in front of us on the floor. So all I had to do was lean up, tap the guy on the shoulder, say, can I get another beer up here? And so, again, the pain and suffering and all the things. And my wife, bless her heart, who is my servant in these situations, felt guilty that she was up on that platform with us. And it took other handicapped people that were up on that platform to say, my dear, you're his handler. You have to be here. And we were able to accept it and embrace it to the point that I showed up on my crutches at the Denver airport for the way home and got the wheelchair escort all the way to the plane and got to get on first. I mean, I was still not taking it for granted. I was in trouble. I was still in really bad pain.
Sure.
But once again, we were able to, through the perseverance and the gumption of my 44-year-old to be daughter, she's 43 now, saying, "No, Dad, you're going."
And you went in style, great style. Oh my goodness.
I paid the price. I paid the price to get the reward at the end, which is again goes right back to the goal set, the whole goal thing. And that's what
Absolutely.
it's all about. And it's not about I want to buy a brand new car next year. It's about I want to make sure I got the rent paid this month and an extra $300. How do I do that?
Yeah.
And then when you got the rent paid and an extra $300, go get a cheeseburger or a veggie wrap or whatever it happens to be. Reward yourself
Mhm.
for the work you did.
Yes.
And that's another place that everybody gets lost in the whole goal journey is everybody thinks about these giant things. It's not about that. It's about you want the big pictures, but then you want to reverse engineer them. A year from now, I want to do this. Well, that means in 6 months, I have to be here. In 3 months, I have to be here. Today, I have to be here. Tomorrow, I have to be there. And this is, again, now to come back full circle because I went down another rabbit hole. That's how I moved from the couch to back to jumping on yachts again for the first week and a half or two of January before they shut down the entire yachting industry. And I ended up back on the couch for another 4 months.
Sure, sure. Wow, what a wonderful story. Wow. I'm really happy that you got a chance to go to that concert in that style because that doesn't happen for just everyone. And like you said, you paid the price and you got the reward at the end. I really liked that, what you said. And then you also said, hey, it's not all about that big Lamborghini that you want to buy. Sometimes it's just about paying the rent and having $300 left over. That is so realistic, especially in our recession or the time that we're having right now economically. A lot of people are struggling. And so that was such a real um, uh, eye to eye contact with those words that you said there. Thank you so much. And then you said, hey, don't forget you didn't say this, but this is what I thought when I heard you speaking. Don't forget to celebrate the small wins. You said, hey, if this is where you want to be in a year, hey, this is where you got to be in 6 months and 3 months and 2 months and this week and yesterday and today. These are the way this is how you achieve the goal one day at a time, one step at a time, one challenge at a time. But don't forget to celebrate the little milestones that you take or that you achieve along the way. It is so important. And what I have found out is when you celebrate, you raise that vibration, right? And when you raise that vibration, what do you get? You get momentum. And it's that momentum that helps you make it to that next milestone, that helps you make it over that next hurdle and on to finish your goal in fine style. And thank you so much for that, Karl. And now, as we move on through to our next section, we're going to be talking about sustaining. How do you sustain the goal once you have achieved it? How do you sustain the positive energy when you can look outside and see around you that things aren't as you would like them to be? If there's somebody out there that needs to know how to keep moving, how not to give up in their situation, how do you tell them to sustain the success that they have achieved, even if they haven't achieved the big one yet? How do you sustain where you are so that you can continue to move forward? And don't slide back, because that could be easy too.
Um, you you need to, and this is one of my biggest struggles and still part of my CANEI, for those that don't know, CANEI. Get your notepads out because Carl's got a nugget.
Okay, girl.
Continued and never ending improvement. If you're not always working on yourself, you're going to find yourself in this yourself in the same place. you need to learn. And again, I am a student of it. I am my own worst critic about it. Like most of us are, we're all our own worst critics. And I think if there's anything that anybody needs to learn in life first, is just stop that. Stop beating yourself up. But you need to find joy. You need to find gratitude. You need to be able to, like, imagine now I wake up in the morning and you've heard the old phrase, oh, it's going to be a great day. I woke up this morning and both feet hit the floor. Well, now I say I woke up this morning and all 9 toes hit the floor, which gives me a little humor,
Yes.
reminds me of where I came from and that I am still on this healing journey, because even as we sit here and talk, I just crossed my legs a few minutes ago, and the dull pain and the throb is still there, and it's always going to be there. It's been literally the end of September will be 4 years, and it still hurts.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it's, if anything, it's going to get more of a challenge as life goes on when I get into my 60s, 70s, 80s. My dad made it to 94 and a half, which means I got a long road to go still. And so yeah, how do you keep going? How do you get up and keep going? Because you got to know that there's more out there than just you. There's going to be an opportunity just like this one right now that we're in, this moment, this reality, this now that we're in, where I have the opportunity to potentially touch and or change a life, a few lives, many lives, hundreds of lives by sharing this story.
Yes.
And man, if there's any reason to get out of bed every single day, it's because you do have that opportunity to go out and shine your light on somebody who needs that light. I don't want to go down, a dark path right now, but there's a lot of new awareness that's coming about this whole idea of the new epidemic. We're not going to use the P word, the new epidemic of homeless and mentally challenged people that are out there on the streets. And I don't want to say 9 out of 10 of us. I want to say 999 out of 1,000 people will put their blinders up and make sure they get past them without any interaction, any kind of eye contact, anything. Look at them, smile at them, show some kind of compassion, because that just might help. I can tell a really quick, wonderful, touching story about that. My wife and I won $35 on our Florida lottery, picking numbers. It just happened. We won $35. I was going to Home Depot that Sunday. I come down the exit ramp off of 95 in Fort Lauderdale, and there's a family of 5, a husband and wife and 3 children at the bottom of that ramp with their sign. I turned into the Home Depot parking lot and went to Big Lots. I spent $35. I bought juicy juices. I bought crackers and cheese. I bought bottles of water, plates, napkins, silverware, and literally brought them this $35 box of stuff. I left what I was doing Sunday, had a quick trip to the store, spent an hour doing this, ran back, hand delivered it to the woman, who says, "Do you have any money?" I'm like, I just spent $35 and the receipt's in there, and Big Lots is right over there. You're welcome to go return it. But you said you needed food. So I had to go down and make a U-turn and come back to go to Home Depot. And as I come back, there was another homeless guy sitting on the corner, and he was kind of seeing what was going on. And here was one of the young children bringing him a bottle of water. It's going to make me cry. A bottle of water and a can of like Vienna sausages. They were giving the food away that I gave them to this other, they were paying it forward.
Yes.
And
Mm.
the next week we get our bank account, whose name I won't mention, that looks like a stagecoach. We get a check in from my corporate account that they overcharged me for monthly services. We get a check in my wife's credit card that had a zero balance transfer. We overcharged you on some interest that we shouldn't have. And I got $100 gift card in the mail that I had cashed in from a credit card so we can go out for a nice dinner. Literally almost $200 showed up, and it was 3 envelopes in my mailbox, all with money in them for me.
Wow. Woo, that's
Again, whatever
powerful.
you call spirit, universe, powers that be, the world is round. And so I hope you don't mind that I went down that path, because I think it is important with what we're talking about right now, that compassion is
Yes.
also a huge part of the healing and the learnings that we all need to do in this awakening that I'm still very aware and in touch of, that is occurring on a worldly basis, just unfortunately way later than it should have been. But at least we're moving in the right direction.
I agree. Oh my goodness, that was such a moving, touching story. I love what you said, Carl. You said we all need to let our lights shine. And I cannot agree more. We all have a light to shine. Even if it's just a small flicker, it's still there. And as long as you have a flicker, it can grow into a flame, and that flame can grow into a inferno. And as we each one teach one, each one reach one, before you know it, there's healing being spread all over. And just to show that, you talked about how the little child took the water and the Vienna sausage over to someone else. That's exactly what that I am speaking about. This little story that you told, not little story, but the short story that you just told, and how magnificent that is, and how easy it is to touch someone's life as opposed to walking by, like you said, with our blinders on. Even a blessing spoken to anyone will help their situation, even if you don't have money to give them. A smile and a blessing will go a long way. And so, thank you for reminding us of that, Carl, because a lot of times we get locked into the success. We get locked into the, matriculation, got to get here, got to go, got to get this, got to get that, on my journey, and everybody is on their journey, and they have the blinders on, and without being able to see that everything around them is part of their journey. And so thank you so much, for allowing me to pull that out and express that to our viewers today. This has been another riveting, wonderful episode of the Healing Train with Karl, with a K, Fryburg, here as our ultimate guest today, our passenger. And thank you so much for gracing us with your presence today, and all of your stories, your authenticity, your transparency, and your vulnerability is really what came through today, is really what we felt today. And we can't wait to have you back again. There's so much that you have to offer, and so much that you can share, just to edify us and to make us feel warm and fuzzy. And so we definitely want to make sure that we have you back again, maybe for your next book, who knows. So before we go, is there any last words you want to say?
Interestingly enough, the teacher and the teached, or or the student, however you want to call it, flicker to a flame. I know I've heard it before, but I just took notes while I was on this call. When you said that, it was one of those boom, and I'm like, oh, I gotta write that one down. So thank you, Yvonne, for flicker to a flame. Uh, Something that I live by, and it's actually in my kind of intro and bio, which we didn't touch on in the very beginning, but if there's first of all, I live by the motto of never give up. And of course, most everybody, if you Google that, the first thing you'll see is Winston Churchill, because he was the one, I think, who made it more famous than anybody. But the other one, and this is another one of those lean in or break out your notepads, is speak of what you will do, and I will listen. Do what you speak of, and I will believe. Let that
Wow.
one simmer for just a moment. Speak of what you will do, and I will listen. Do what you speak of, and I
Yeah,
will believe.
that is
And
powerful.
to break that down into layman's terms, it means don't say it and then don't do it. If you make a promise to somebody, it's a promise. I'm from the Pennsylvania Dutch country, from the Amish country of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Looking somebody in the eye and shaking their hand is a contract,
Mm,
an unbreakable bond and an unbreakable contract,
sure.
not a Oh yeah, I'll be over to help you move that furniture on Saturday. I'll try.
Sure.
You're never going to see them.
Hmm.
Replace try with I'll do my best. If there's
Yes.
one thing that you can change in your entire life, eliminate the word try and replace it with I will do my best.
I like that. Wow, guys. Carl has really given us quite a few nuggets to hold on to today. I cannot wait to hear your responses after you have watched this segment. Thank you again for being here with us, Carl. And for everyone that's watching, thank you for your love and your support. Thank you for coming here week after week to hear what our passengers have to say about their trauma healing journey, listening to their stories that take them from trauma to triumph, from struggle to success. Thank you so much for being here. And in the meantime, if you are manifesting for something, I don't want you to give up. Keep the faith. If you haven't seen it, that's because it's on its way. I want you to visualize yourself receiving that thing that you are hoping for and continue to move forward with your faith. Until next time, be blessed, and we'll see you again next time. Bye bye.